This is the tragic story of Polly Klaas, a 12-year-old girl whose life was cruelly cut short by a heartless criminal. Let's break it down and dive into the details. It's the evening of October 1st, 1993, in the quiet town of Petaluma, California. Polly Klaas, an innocent and lively 12-year-old girl, is hosting a slumber party with two of her friends. The girls are doing what kids do, playing games, laughing, and just enjoying their night. But in a horrifying twist, their fun is shattered by a man named Richard Allen Davis, who breaks into the Klaas home and changes everything. Davis enters Polly's bedroom around 10:30 p.m., armed with a knife. He ties up her two friends and then takes Polly, threatening her and forcing her out of the house. Imagine the terror those girls must have felt. Davis disappears into the night with Polly, leaving behind her traumatized friends who manage to untie themselves and raise the alarm. The details of the intrusion are chilling. Davis had entered the house through a window he found unlocked. He was high on drugs and desperate, a dangerous combination that led to a heinous crime. Once the police are alerted, an enormous search effort kicks off. It's one of the largest in U.S. history, with thousands of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and even the FBI joining the hunt. Polly's face is plastered on posters, flyers, and even milk cartons. The whole community, heck, the whole country is pulling for her safe return. The search spans several states and utilizes every available resource. Bloodhounds are brought in, helicopters scour the area from above, and dive teams search nearby rivers and lakes. The community of Petaluma is in a state of shock, but united in their determination to find Polly. Let's talk about Richard Allen Davis, the guy who took Polly. Davis is a career criminal with a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. He's been in and out of prison for burglary, assault, and kidnapping. He's the kind of guy you'd cross the street to avoid. Despite his long criminal history, he's out on parole. And on that fateful night, he decides to ruin countless lives. Davis's background is a tragic tale of neglect and abuse, which, while explaining his descent into crime, does not excuse it. Born into a dysfunctional family, Davis experienced violence and instability from a young age. By the time he was a teenager, he was already in trouble with the law. Over the years, his crimes escalated in severity, culminating in a string of violent offenses that should have kept him behind bars. The justice system's failure to contain him becomes painfully clear in Polly's case. The police initially struggle to find any solid leads. There are several false sightings and tips that lead to dead ends. But then, 2 months after Polly's abduction, there's a break in the case. Davis gets arrested for a parole violation. During questioning, the police start to connect the dots. This guy matches the description of Polly's kidnapper. The arrest occurs after Davis is spotted acting suspiciously near a woman's home, prompting a call to the police. When they arrive, Davis is found hiding in the bushes, trying to avoid detection. Under intense questioning, Davis eventually confesses to the crime. He leads the authorities to a rural area near Cloverdale, about 30 miles from Petaluma. It's here, in a shallow grave, that they find Polly's body. The discovery is heart-wrenching and confirms everyone's worst fears. Polly Klaas is dead, and her family and community are left devastated. The details of Polly's final moments are harrowing. Davis admits to killing her shortly after the abduction, strangling her with a piece of cloth he had in his car. He then buried her body in a shallow grave, hoping it would never be found. The site is desolate, surrounded by trees and brush, a stark contrast to the lively, loving environment Polly had known. Davis's trial becomes a media circus. The evidence against him is overwhelming. DNA matches, his confession, and the timeline all point directly to Davis. He tries to shift blame and make excuses, but the jury isn't buying it. During the trial, Davis exhibits disturbing behavior, smirking, and showing a lack of remorse. His defense team attempts to paint a picture of a troubled man, but the jury is unswayed by their arguments. On June 18, 1996, Davis is convicted of first-degree murder, and a few months later, he's sentenced to death. The courtroom is filled with a mix of relief and sorrow. Polly's family finds some solace in the verdict, but knows it won't bring her back. The sentencing hearing is emotional, with family members reading impact statements that highlight the profound loss they've endured.